In the shadows of 1980s Los Angeles, a city bathed in neon lights and swathed in the haze of uncertainty, a malevolent force emerged, terrorizing its residents in the most sinister of ways. This force was Richard Ramirez, a man whose troubled upbringing and dark descent into the abyss of violence would earn him the chilling moniker, the Night Stalker. Born into a tumultuous world on February 29, 1960, Ramirez's early life was marred by familial discord, violence, and a gradual immersion into the macabre. As he traversed the treacherous path from a troubled adolescence to the depths of his own malevolence, Ramirez would unleash a reign of terror that left an indelible mark on the city and its inhabitants. This narrative delves into the chilling saga of Richard Ramirez, unraveling the intricate threads of his early life, the gruesome murders that shook an entire community, his capture that brought an end to the city's collective nightmare, the riveting trial that exposed the true extent of his atrocities, his life within the cold confines of incarceration, and the eventual demise of a man who once personified the very embodiment of fear. Join us as we explore the enigmatic life and dark legacy of the Night Stalker, a chapter in true crime history that continues to haunt the corridors of memory. As a child, Ramirez showed signs of a turbulent future. His father, a former police officer, often shared graphic images of crime scenes with his impressionable son, exposing him to the macabre side of life. This unsettling upbringing planted the seeds for the twisted path that Richard would eventually embark upon. The Ramirez family struggled financially, and their modest home became a breeding ground for violence. Richard's father, prone to fits of rage, physically abused him and his siblings. These early experiences laid the foundation for the dark tendencies that would later manifest in Ramirez's criminal activities. Despite the chaos at home, young Richard excelled academically. Gifted with above-average intelligence, he earned a scholarship to study at Texas State University. However, this glimmer of hope was short-lived. Ramirez's taste for rebellion, fueled by drug abuse and a growing fascination with Satanism, led him down a dangerous path. His college years were marked by a series of alarming incidents, including arrests for drug possession and theft. Ramirez's descent into criminality escalated when he dropped out of college and moved to California in search of a new, sinister purpose. In Los Angeles, Ramirez's predatory instincts found an outlet. Infamously known as the Night Stalker, he terrorized Southern California from 1984 to 1985, committing a string of gruesome murders and sexual assaults. His crimes struck fear into the hearts of the community, leaving behind a trail of victims and a city paralyzed with terror. The disturbing dichotomy of Richard Ramirez's early life and education reveals a complex character shaped by a toxic blend of environmental factors. From the shadows of a troubled childhood to the halls of academia, Ramirez's journey highlights the chilling interplay between nature and nurture. As the Night Stalker's reign of terror unfolded, it became clear that the seeds planted in his early years had blossomed into a malevolent force. The story of Richard Ramirez serves as a chilling reminder that even the brightest minds can be consumed by darkness when exposed to the wrong influences. In the mid-1980s, a wave of terror swept through the sun-soaked streets of Southern California. The Night Stalker, later identified as Richard Ramirez, embarked on a brutal murder spree that would leave an indelible mark on the region's history. It all began in the summer of 1984, when the city of Los Angeles became a hunting ground for a sadistic predator. Ramirez, armed with a sinister charisma and a ruthless determination, embarked on a nocturnal rampage, earning him the chilling moniker of the Night Stalker. His modus operandi was as gruesome as it was unpredictable. The first victims, a couple in their 60s, were attacked in their own home. Brutally beaten and stabbed, they became the initial casualties of Ramirez's reign of terror. As the death toll rose, so did the level of brutality, with each crime scene resembling a nightmarish tableau of violence. Ramirez's victims spanned across different demographics, from age to race, making it clear that he operated without discrimination. The Night Stalker invaded homes, leaving behind a trail of shattered lives and a community paralyzed by fear. Survivors spoke of their harrowing encounters with a man who seemed to revel in their terror. The killer's methods were as varied as they were diabolical. He used firearms, knives, and blunt objects to carry out his heinous acts, demonstrating a disturbing versatility in his approach. His signature was etched into the crime scenes with pentagrams and occult symbols, a chilling testament to Ramirez's twisted fascination with Satanism. Despite the efforts of law enforcement, the Night Stalker eluded capture for over a year, taunting authorities with his ability to strike fear into the hearts of an entire city. The breakthrough finally came in 1985 when a vigilant community, aided by a relentless police force, managed to apprehend Ramirez after a dramatic chase and subsequent beating by angry residents. As the trial unfolded, the public learned of the gruesome details surrounding Ramirez's crimes. The courtroom became a stage for the prosecution to expose the extent of his sadistic acts. The survivors bravely recounted their horrifying ordeals, ensuring that the Night Stalker faced justice for his reign of terror. In 1989, Richard Ramirez was sentenced to death for his crimes, marking the end of one of the darkest chapters in California's history. The Night Stalker's legacy serves as a stark reminder of the capacity for evil that can lurk in the shadows, waiting to unleash unimaginable horrors on the unsuspecting. The scars left by his gruesome acts continue to echo through time, a haunting testament to the fragility of safety and the resilience of those who survived the Night Stalker's deadly game. In the cold, sterile confines of San Quentin State Prison, a man known to the world as the Night Stalker, Richard Ramirez, lived out the remaining chapters of his dark saga. As the heavy iron doors clanged shut behind him, Ramirez entered a world vastly different from the chaos he had sown on the sun-drenched streets of Southern California. Confined to his cell, Ramirez's days were filled with the monotonous routine of prison life. Stripped of the cloak of terror that had surrounded him during his killing spree, he was now just another inmate with a sordid past. But behind those prison walls, the echoes of his heinous crimes reverberated, creating a chilling atmosphere that even hardened criminals found unsettling. Life for Ramirez behind bars was a delicate balance between the predator and the prey. Despite his notoriety, he faced threats from fellow inmates who sought retribution for his gruesome acts. The Night Stalker, once a symbol of fear, now navigated the treacherous social dynamics of prison survival. As the legal system grinded through its gears, Ramirez's appeal process played out, prolonging his stay on death row. The man who had terrorized an entire city now faced the inevitability of justice, albeit delayed. His interactions with his defense team and occasional interviews granted a glimpse into the mind of a killer who showed little remorse for his actions. Behind the prison walls, Ramirez's demeanor evolved. He became a shell of the charismatic monster who had eluded capture for over a year. The once long, wavy hair that framed his face was now cropped short, a stark contrast to the wild mane he sported during his crime spree. The haunted eyes that had struck fear into the hearts of his victims now reflected the harsh reality of a life spent awaiting execution. Ramirez's health deteriorated over the years, a consequence of his drug abuse and the toll taken by the prison environment. His once fiery spirit waned as he faced the harsh reality of his impending fate. The Night Stalker, who had once reveled in the power he held over his victims, now found himself powerless in the face of the legal system. On June 7, 2013, Richard Ramirez met his end. He succumbed to complications related to B-cell lymphoma, but not without a final macabre twist. As the Grim Reaper's shadow loomed large over his prison cell, Ramirez, in a surreal turn of events, received wedding proposals from admirers who were inexplicably drawn to the darkness that had defined his life. The Night Stalker's final moments were marked by a bizarre dance with death, a culmination of a life spent evoking fear and fascination. The corridors of San Quentin State Prison, once haunted by the malevolent presence of Richard Ramirez, echoed with a sense of finality as the notorious killer took his last breath. The story of Richard Ramirez behind bars and his peculiar demise serves as a haunting epilogue to a chapter of darkness that gripped Southern California. In the sterile confines of San Quentin, the once feared Night Stalker faced the consequences of his malevolent actions, and the echoes of his crimes lingered in the shadows of the prison corridors long after his demise. As we conclude our journey through the harrowing tale of Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, we are left with a chilling reminder of the fragility of human nature and the depths to which one soul can descend. the haunting echoes of Ramirez's crimes reverberate through time, leaving scars on the collective consciousness of a city that once lived in fear. Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, stands as a macabre testament to the capacity for evil that dwells within the human spirit. As we step away from this narrative, may we carry the lessons learned from this dark chapter in history, remembering the resilience of the human spirit and the collective strength that arises in the face of unspeakable horrors. In the wake of tragedy, we find solace in the pursuit of justice, healing, and the eternal quest for a society free from the shadows cast by those who succumb to the abyss of malevolence. This was True Crime Telling. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to leave a like, and I'll see you in the next video.